for Republic in the Northwest. And speaking second on proposition, we have Roger Abbas, who is a Republic Northwest member. On the opposition, speaking first, we will have Scott Pepe, who is the Deputy Chairman of the British Monarchist Society. And speaking second, we'll have Oliver Johnston, who's a Tory and Monarchy and Views. Standing orders for tonight's debate are as follows. There'll be 7-minute speeches, one from proposition, one from opposition, second from proposition, second from opposition. There'll be no points of information during the speeches, but we will after that be opening up to the floor where people can ask questions and direct them either at the side or just general points that you've noticed about monarchy and life in general. For the best questions asked, there is a prize of chocolates, so there's definitely an incentive to ask good and pertinent questions, and also the possibility that you might get a bored drink at the pub afterwards. So definitely get asking those questions. So without any further ado, I call upon Ray to open the case for the side proposition.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you all for inviting us here this evening to debate this important topic. My name is Ray Evans. I am coordinator for Republic of the Northwest, which is a constituent part of Republic Campaign Group nationally. It's an online to any political party made up of ordinary people or volunteers. Its aim to replace the monarchy with a single elected head of state. One of us, elected by us, subject to us, and then to any political role or state funding for the royal family. You know, last Saturday, Roger and I were on the streets of Manchester, and distributing leaflets and getting the important message across, and we were buoyed by the response that we got. But the feedback we get was basically what we know to be the case nationally, that yes, there is a hardcore run of monarchists, and I think there's a generational issue there. There is a similar approximate number of anti-monarchists, but by far the biggest portion are perhaps 50% or more of the middle ground who are apathetic or indifferent to the monarchy. People who put up with what we have at the moment because they've not been informed of anything better. Now that is quite a different thing to the whole nation being in love with the idea of monarchy and the royal family, which is the impression you get from our media. This is an important issue. It's not about an elderly lady sitting in a palace wearing a crown, nor is it an extension of entertainment news, although you may be forgiven for thinking that at times. It is the very heart of our political system. This is about who represents us at home and abroad, our hopes and aspirations, and it deserves to be treated seriously. This is a taboo subject. Unlike what the monarchists claim, it is not unifying, it's wholly divisive. If any of you think it's unifying your groups, go out there into the pubs and clubs or amongst your friends and family and start a conversation about the monarchy and you will find how unifying it is. Okay, so before we look at a few alternatives of what might replace the monarchy, let's look at the three main issues of why we want to get rid of it. And one, overriding all others, it is wholly undemocratic. We are a country priding ourselves on our democracy, such that it is we elect just under half our parliament. And we get involved around the world in the name of democracy and promoting democratic principles. We should practice what we preach at the very highest level of our public office. Hereditary public office has no place in a modern democracy. You know, most recently, we were supposed to be overjoyed at the prospect of a firstborn princess now inheriting the throne ahead of her brothers. The PM tells us this is a victory for equal rights. You cannot mention monarchy and equal rights in the same sentence. Monarchy discriminates against every man, woman and child in this country who is not born into the House of Windsor. This is about aspiration, how we define ourselves as a nation. We can't be socially equal at birth, but we can be politically equal. That means everybody having the ability to aspire to the role of head of state. Monarchy tells us no matter how good we are as individuals, we can be no match for the most ill-suited royal. The second point, it is unfit for purpose, a broken institution, wholly secretive, exempt from the Freedom of Information Act, something the Queen has lobbied successive PMs to remain. Members of the royal family are not allowed to be criticised in Parliament. We hear the phrase, the Queen acting on the advice of the PM, which basically means she does what she's said, which she's told. Politicians already have far too much power, but this cushy, non-questioning relationship works both ways. She doesn't question them. And we think of the expenses scandal and how she was unusually quiet at that time. Moreover, the Crown rights transferred to government give the PM huge powers to sign treaties and go to war without proper debate. Now, last year we were asked to celebrate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Now, the Queen came to the role in 1952, aged 26, and 60 years later, by virtue of the fact that she's still alive, she's stood in the role. That is not achievement, that is mathematics. Elizabeth Windsor has defined the role in her own right as Elizabeth Windsor. So we expect no more or less than how she has performed the role as head of state. There is no criteria for measuring the performance of our head of state. We hear she's never put wrong. And she has certainly shaken all the right hands and stood on all the right red carpets, and those ribbons don't cut themselves. But no one can remember a single quote that she said in 60 years. Not a single nation-rousing speech at a time of national celebration or achievement. We have a head of state who doesn't give interviews. How absurd. A silent monarch then, buoyed up by public indifference. That is the reality. Now, talking about the royal baby, we're asked to celebrate as a nation the fact that we have our royal our head of state chosen was potentially 60 years ahead of time. That is no cause for celebration in a democracy. And also makes us think about the fact that we're only likely to get Asian monarchs, of course, unless someone dies young. There's also the very real human rights issue of dictating a child's life ahead of it in the public eye before it's even born. The third point is the very political nature, and here we concentrate on Charles. We as Republicans have known for years about Charles's political influence, and how he's used the power of veto over legislation in his role as the Duke of Cornwall, as a special right he has, not open to any other landowner. Now, very recently, last September, news filtered through the Charles's spider letters and how he's getting involved in daily legislation. The Guardian challenged under the Freedom of Information Act for this information to be made public. It was passed but subsequently vetoed by the Attorney General as seriously damaging to his role as future monarch. We, the people, should be the judge of whether that affects his role as a future head of state. No one else. In the past, we know that Charles has had involvement in legislation around wind farms, nuclear power, GM foods, architecture, homeopathic medicine. Where his influence, by the way, on that last issue is the only reason it's used in the NHS. You can pretty much guess what his views are on each of these issues, but you can't do anything about it. So to all monarchists who say, we don't want another politician as president, I say, you've already got one. You can't do anything about it. He is a politician. So finally, I'll finish with, Roger's going to talk more on this, but on what an alternative might look like. We don't have to go too far for a very good example. Our nearest neighbour, Ireland, has an excellent system, a ceremonial role with limited constitutional power, and a succession of excellent presidents, all with approval ratings in the 90s. This is not a choice about Charles and a has-been politician. This country is full of talented people from the world of arts, sciences and sports, any one of whom could make an excellent head of state. This is a winnable argument. The British people are not stupid, they're not mindless sheep, but they remain uninformed about the exemption of freedom of information, about the ban in the House of Commons, about the political meddling, and about how it's paid and the cost, which is largely irrelevant, but people do get annoyed about it. Go over the Royal Yacht proposal last year. It's not going to be easy. We're up against a huge palace PR machine. But recent history shows that change, when it does happen around the world, can happen very quickly. And we look at apartheid, the fall of the Eastern Bloc, and the Arab Spring as examples of that. I'll finish with... I'll finish with a quote from Thomas Paine, a famous Republican and writer. Over 200 years ago, it's still as valid today. A long habit of not thinking a thing wrong gives it a superficial appearance of being right. Thank you, and I look forward to fielding questions.